All right, we are back. It is the Dana Barrett Show. It's a special broadcast of our show. We are live at Infinite Energy Arena right now for Leadercast Live. It is a big day here. It is already crowded, and it's only 8:19. How did everyone get here through Atlanta traffic? I have no idea. On that note, we have a special bonus. It's a bonus show with a bonus segment right now. Jonathan Wright's joining me from Harrison Assessments. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. And I know you guys have been a part of Leadercast for a while now, correct?
We've been working with Leadercast off and on in a couple of different ways for about 5 years.
Okay, great. And so today you guys are here. And well, let's back up for a second. What does Harrison Assessments do?
All right. Everybody's talking about big data. Okay. Everybody's talking about, I want to make sure that my data is used appropriately, is used for good. Harrison Assessment is a way to gather behavioral data about your team, about the people you lead, and or about your leadership, so that you can make strategic decisions to lead more effectively.
Okay. So like a personality test?
Sort of. Behavior.
Okay.
Behavior.
Okay.
We're going to look at the Harrison Assessment, looks at your behavior in a moment, in a situation, and gives you language to talk about it with your team, to talk about it with the people you're leading, so that you can make the best possible decisions moving forward. Okay,
so people fill out some kind of assessment online?
It's an online thing. You drag sentences.
Look at me like drawing like with a pen.
I know. What year is this?
I don't know. Apparently it's not 2019 in my world. Okay, and so how long does it take to fill out a Harrison Assessment?
20 minutes.
Okay, oh, that's easy.
It's really useful. It gathers 2,800 pieces of individual behavioral data about you, which is an astounding amount. That's like 3 days in a one-on-one interview.
Wow.
So it's a crazy amount of data.
Okay.
Then it gets gathered down into 175 different behavioral traits and factors, which is a very wide-ranging view of what you're likely to do in any particular situation.
Yeah,
and then it gets combined into being able to look at from a whole bunch of different perspectives and reports.
All right, so I know everybody I think I'm an outlier and like a wacko, and I would like break the test.
You wouldn't.
Are you sure?
Yes.
But
based on our long and extensive relationship.
Right. I know. You can already tell that I'm only kind of a wacko. So, all right. But I think people are always worried about kind of giving the right answers on this thing. Mm-hmm. Can you cheat?
You can't, actually. And that's one of the things. What a great question that is. You can't cheat, because one of the things that Harrison does is it takes a look at your data and looks for patterns and consistent alignment to get a sense of whether or not you're presenting yourself accurately.
Oh.
It even will go so far as to get a sense of whether or not you actually know yourself accurately.
Oh.
So imagine how useful that is when you're adding somebody to your team. You want to know, hey, does this person really know themselves? Do they present themselves accurately? And can we rely on their behavioral patterns?
Interesting.
You're not a leader unless anybody's following you.
Well, that is for sure true.
And you're not a masterful leader unless the right people are following you.
Also true.
And this is the data that makes a difference along those lines.
All right, interesting. Jonathan Wright's hanging out with us right now from Harrison Assessments. I'm learning a lot.
Right on.
My head is kind of like exploding a little bit.
And it's only like 8:20.
And it's only 8:20. Imagine what the rest of the day is going to be like. All right, so talking about people potentially cheating or trying to present themselves in the best possible way. When people see do you see your own results when you do this, or does just the boss get it?
It depends. Depends what the company wants to do. You might be in a situation where you get your results right away and you get a chance to look at it. You might also be in a situation where somebody trained in the details of the Harrison gets on the phone with you and walks through the particular details of what's going on there and says, hey, how does that sound for you? Does that seem like it's an accurate capture of who you are and how that all works together? And then, in all likelihood, if it's used in a hiring situation, the boss probably gets a little more information about you than you get at first glance.
Interesting.
But if you're hired, you get to see the entire package.
Oh, interesting. All right. So I gotta ask another question. So if I can't cheat and you get on the phone with me and we go through it, is it like the SATs? Can I take it again?
Yeah. You see, you mentioned personality assessment versus behavioral or a little bit earlier.
Sure.
That's the big difference. Is personality assessments change over time.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. Behavioral assessments change over time.
Okay.
Personality really doesn't. If I take my Myers-Briggs or my DISC or my Strength Finders, all of those other assessments out there that if you're an assessment nerd like me, all of those things are meaningful, those are fixed forever.
Okay.
But a Harrison looks different over time because you work on things and you make different behavioral choices. So it's a way to get a sense of where you are, but also picture where you want to be and make adjustments along the way. And that's where the coaching, which is mostly what I do with the Harrison, comes into the process, is somebody works with you to help make those changes take deep impact.
So for example, you might see somebody who's like a great fit for the company, except there's this little piece,
right,
and then you might work on with them,
right,
work on that with them to correct that.
And we
piece
can change
or adjust
that. We can change that. And what the Harrison looks at, I'm going to go all Dr. Phil here on you for a second.
I've always wanted that.
Dr. Phil says the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
Okay.
So it's a really wise thing that he says because it's absolutely true. And what the Harrison does is give you really clear data about your behavioral patterns and then say, this is what we can expect from you in the future. Now, if you have a pattern that's lower than or less strong than you might want, you can work with somebody to change that and move that up to a higher priority, a higher tendency. And that changes not only how the employee fits in the organization today, but how they fit in the organization in the future.
Interesting. All right, we are live right now, coming to you from the Infinite Energy Arena in Gwinnett. We're hanging out with Jonathan Reitz from Harrison Assessments. Of course, we are at Leadercast Live. You can still come on over if you can get through Atlanta traffic and join us. There are still tickets available for this incredible day of inspiration here. And we're talking about Harrison Assessments, and I am so curious because I haven't done anything like this in a while. My team is really small. You're kind of looking at it. It's just a couple of us.
Right.
But when teams go through this, does the boss do the assessment also? Because I know, like, sometimes when you're an employee, you get asked to do things that the boss doesn't have to do, and that could be really, I'm just going to say, annoying.
Let's just put it this way. In the good teams, yes, the boss takes the...
Good answer.
In the...
Everybody here at Leadercast obviously is here for the right reasons. They're going to all be that kind of good leader.
And there's lots of folks here at Leadercast wrestling with the Harrison application. Now, one of the things we've done specially for Leadercast is we've built a behavioral competency tool that looks at your behaviors through the lens of how ready to lead a healthy team are you.
Interesting.
And we've identified behaviors that are essential. You got to have these, and you want as much of these as possible. We found some desirable behaviors that are going to make you more effective as long as you don't go to it too often. We call those threshold traits.
Okay.
And then there's some behaviors that you want to avoid. And if you have those, you picture yourself as an outlier. The fear.
I think I'm special. What can I tell you, Jonathan?
Well, you are, obviously. and the fear that outliers have is that the traits to avoid would show up as strong traits in their behavioral patterns.
Right.
And if we know that, we can speak to it, and we can work on a way to address that particular behavioral pattern to make you more effective and to become a leader more worth following.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've only got about a minute or so left, but I want to ask about specifically healthy teams, because that is the theme of the day here at Leadercast Live. And though the Dana Barrett Show team is small, I want to make sure we're healthy.
Okay.
Do you focus on everything from emotional health to spiritual health, physical health? Is it a communication thing? Is it all of the above? How do you handle that?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
And what we would do on a team, in fact, if you want to do this with the Dana Barrett Show team, we can do this. We can make this happen for you.
Nick just got nervous.
Okay, yeah, I would imagine. Boy, he did turn red.
See?
If you want to do this, we can do this. We would run a report called the Paradox Report, which looks at behaviors that seem like they're opposite, but actually work together, like being frank and being diplomatic.
Interesting.
Because you can be both. You have to be both if you're going to be an effective communicator. I mean, you're a professional communicator. I'm sure you are able to move between being very frank and being very diplomatic, maybe in the same conversation on a moment's notice.
Here's my perfect one. We're going to have to agree to disagree.
Exactly. And which was that? Was that more frank or was that more diplomatic?
Both. That was both.
And it depends. It probably depends on who you're talking to.
That's right.
So that's a situation where we'd survey the entire team on these paradoxical behaviors.
Interesting.
And we'd look at where we've got alignment, where similarity takes place on a team, and where differences take place on a team, because those are going to predict your strengths, your serious disconnects, and the places where it could go either way.
Very cool.
And wouldn't you want to know that?
I hope I'm not seriously disconnected, although one never knows. We are officially out of time for this segment, but Jonathan, thank you so much. Harrison Assessment sounds like a really cool thing. I'm a little afraid, but I'm very intrigued.
Well, let's see if we can make that happen for you all. Let's see how this goes.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We are coming to you live from Leadercast Live up here at the Infinite Energy Center in Gwinnett. It is the Dana Barrett Show, and we will be right back.